There we go. Let's just look at I'm going to look at our building for 1 second, right? I'm obviously in a 3D view. I'm going to turn this crop box off here. So section box, click, turn that off and take a look, right? Things are looking the way I want them to. They're looking pretty good. I've got some doors and windows. I could add some more if I needed to, right? I can come up here to architecture, door, and let's choose, we'll put a door there and we'll put one there, right? Interior, we can place one there or whatever, right? But this looks pretty good, right? And I just want to remind you, before we get going on roof plans, about some of our views over here in our project browser. We have our floor plans, of course, which, you know, if you double click on main level, here's our main level, and it's a floor plan view. And a floor plan view is you looking at the model as if you've, you know, sliced it horizontally at 3 to 4 feet and you're looking down, right? We have ceiling plans. These ceiling plans are looking up on that same level. So main level floor plan, right? We're looking down. Ceiling plan, main level, we are looking up, okay? And if I look at our view range here, our ceiling plan is defined as being cut at 6'8", right? So we're looking up, and what we're seeing is our items that are cut at 6'8", okay? So we have a ceiling plan for most of our associated floor plans here. We have 3D views. Click, click. There's my 3D view, right? I can move around. I want to remind you that we have our elevations. Okay, so if I go to my floor plan view, and my elevation markers are not showing, but I'm going to turn on my crop area, crop region, choose to uncrop, and you see I've got these exterior elevation markers, right? Exterior elevation, so for example, let me just define first. North is this direction, north, east, south, west, okay? And the way that elevation markers work in architecture is that this is the north elevation, and it's pointing at this facade, and this facade is on the north side of the building, right? So this is my north elevation marker. It's a little bit, I think, confusing because it is actually pointing south, right? But you're viewing the north elevation with it. So that's going to be our north elevation marker, okay? If I click on my elevation marker, I get this line, and this line, okay, this shows me the extent of my elevation and where it's going to show. So it starts over here and it ends here, okay? And so it's going to show me this elevation. I get the same thing right on each of these. Now, I can click on it when it's turned blue and drag it, get it closer, farther apart, farther away, I guess I should say. Okay. If I happen to engage my floor plan like that and I double click on my elevation and go to it, I get a section, right? So if you take an elevation marker and you touch it to the floor plan, then you get a section, all right? So these elevation markers, these are exterior elevation markers, okay? And those correspond to these elevations right here, okay? So north is going to be my north elevation. So I double click on north, and there is my north elevation. East, south, west. I just want to kind of draw that connection right there, right, where those elevations actually come from, okay? We also have sections. If I go back to my main level floor plan, right, I have these what are called section markers drawn through my floor plan. And it's essentially the same as an elevation, but it engages the structure of the model, right? So a section marker allows me to cut a vertical section of a building, and this section marker shows me that it's pointing this direction, right? So I'm cutting the building here all the way through, and I'm viewing it in this direction, okay? This, if I double click on it, it cuts through the entire structure, unless I use my crop region to alter that, right? If I just want to see a specific something, okay? Looks like that. Okay, those section markers are also over here in my project browser, right? So section 1, section 2, section 3. Now, all of these views of our model, let me just reiterate that our Revit project is a model, right? we have drawn some things in 2D, or seemingly 2D when we draw them, like the walls and maybe placed windows and things, right? But in actuality, this is a 3D model that you're generating, right? And so when you have these views over here in your project browser, I just want to make sure that you remember that these views are views of your model, right? So I have this 3D object. When I want to look at the main level floor plan, click, click, I am viewing my model in, you know, the floor plan view, right? So these are still 3D elements, we're just viewing it differently, okay? Down here I have my sheets, of course. I can drag my views of my model onto my sheets, right? So when you need to create a PDF, right, of your floor plan, for example, you grab the floor plan, you drag it over onto the sheet, let go, drop it on here, and the view is placed. Now that kind of reserves that view for just that sheet, right? So if I needed to put this exact same floor plan on another sheet, I would have to duplicate it over here, okay? Just want to kind of remind you of these few things. I can click on this viewport, drawing viewport, and I can adjust the view title, right? I can double click inside and I engage the model. I can turn my crop region off. Double click out. Ooh, if I can't double click out because maybe I'm still within my, no, I'm not in my crop region. Well, it's not letting me click out. Right click, deactivate, and I can deactivate out of it. If this is too large, I can double click, engage the viewport. Maybe I make this 1/4 of an inch. Okay, looks pretty good. Oh, but now my, you know, elevation markers are showing. That's because I wasn't cropping, even though my crop region was filtering them out. Bless you. Double click out, and I can center that drawing on the sheet. Now my view title's still too large. I click on the viewport, and I can drag that in. Okay, so there's my nice little floor plan. Double click, zoom extents, ZE, and there it is. Okay. Any questions about any of this kind of stuff? Any? Yep.
So if you start with a certain title block, how do you change it if you decide to go vertical?
This title block?
Yeah, if you want to go horizontal.
Uh-huh. So the first thing is you would have to have one designed, right? Once you have one designed, if you want to use that, you can right click and choose new sheet, and you're going to load in that new title block. All right, so click load and then go and find that title block. It's likely in your Imperial library, okay? And you hit OK and it comes in here. Okay, once it's in there, you're going to just select your title block, and this is just like any other object in Revit. You have a drop down where you can choose which one you want it to be. So if I want it 30 by 42, I choose the 30 by 42 and there it is. Or if you want to use the horizontal one, then you would just drop down and choose that one. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, let's talk about our roof, okay? Our roof is essentially, I wanted to bring up kind of the view of your model because as we move through all these tools, right, floors and ceilings and walls and doors and windows and all that good stuff, and now into roofs, your model is looking more complete, right? So as you view it, you're going to get a more complete picture of your object, your model, all right? So right now our model kind of looks like this, right? But we're going to put a nice little roof on it today. Now, before we actually get going on how to create a roof, right, I'm going to show you how to, or I want to prepare you, prepare your model, I guess, to have a roof and be able to view that roof by creating a roof level, right? Most of you have already done this, but let's just go back over that again. I'm going to go to one of my elevations so I can look at my level markers. Click on north, and I look here and I've got a basement, a main level, a top of wall, which seems too low. Level 2, top of wall, and then a roof. Okay, so I've set my roof at 25 feet, and I've just kind of set it at 25 feet, knowing that it's going to be several feet above my top of wall right here, but not knowing exactly how tall my roof is going to end up being, right? Depending on the slope, it could be very tall or it could be very shallow. But the point with my roof level is that I just want to be able to view my roof, essentially, okay? So I'm gonna go to my roof view right now. Let's see, roof, click, click. And I don't see anything, even when I zoom extents, okay? And I don't see anything because if I look at my view range, I see that my range is the associated level, which is the level I'm viewing, is cut at 4 feet, right? So what that means is that, and let me say this, it's the top of the view range is 7'6". So what I would be viewing in this plan would be a 4-foot cut above the roof plane up to 7'6". So I have a 3.5 foot range, okay? Below that, I'm only seeing anything at the roof level, right? So we have the top of the view range, we have the bottom of the view range, okay? And all of them are set at roof, right? Which means that, let me go back to my elevation. Let's go to our north elevation window tile. Gosh, and these are kind of far out there, right? Let's pull those in a little bit. Which means that this plan, this roof plan here, is only showing from the roof plan up 4 feet and to 7'6". So I'm really seeing kind of this range of my roof right now, right? Which it makes sense now that I'm not seeing anything, right? Because it's above that plane and there's nothing above that plane. If I wanted to see maybe the building below, I could come back over here to my view and go to my view range. And I could change the bottom of my view, which is, you know, if I were to say bottom, the bottom would be the roof plane, anything above. I could change it maybe to the top of wall, bottom, top of wall. So now I'm viewing from the top of wall to, you know, 4 feet above the roof plane. So my view range is this range right here. I'm gonna hit OK. Oh, I have to change, these two need to be the same. My depth, I need to change it to top of wall. Okay. All right, so I changed it to top of wall, but that's right at top of wall, and I'm not seeing anything below it, so I really am only seeing the section markers. Okay. Well, let's change it from top of wall to, I don't want to go all the way to level 2 because I don't want to see the furniture and floor plan on level 2, but I do want to see the outline of the boundary of top of wall. So I'm going to say associate my level with my bottom level with top of wall and down 1 foot, -1. Okay, and now do you see how I magically kind of get the outline of my floor plan? Does that make sense what I did? I'm gonna do, hold on. What's that? Okay, let's look at it one more time. This is kind of important. All right, so let me pull up my view range again. This is the roof view floor plan, right? And when we first opened it, there was nothing there, right? And the reason that there was nothing there was because this was set, the bottom of this was set to roof, and the bottom of the view depth was set to roof. And these were both 0. Okay. So that means, in terms of looking at the levels, that the bottom of my view is roof. It's this level. Okay, so there's no architecture there, right? It's not cutting anything. So I'm not seeing anything because there's nothing to view on that level, right? And you're saying, well, I can, but there's walls below it. Why am I not seeing the walls below it, right? The reason I'm not seeing the walls below it is because the bottom of my view depth is also the roof. So the top is my, you know, my roof, and the bottom is my roof. So I'm just kind of seeing that roof plane, right? Nothing below it. Okay. If I want to see, you know, the roof and maybe some objects below it, I could change the bottom of my view plane to maybe top of wall, top of wall, top of wall. Apply. All right, in doing that, I get some section cuts, but I don't get any building geometry. And it's because the bottom of my range, my view range, is now just directly on top of wall, which means there's nothing above it, right? Things are slightly below it, but there's nothing above it. And I'm viewing it from top of wall up, okay? So if I want to see any building geometry below the top of wall, I could change my level association to level 2. But if I do that, I'm going to view everything from, you know, the roof all the way down to here, which I don't want to see the bathtubs. I don't want to see the toilets or anything like that on level 2. So instead of changing this from top of wall to level 2, I'm just going to give top of wall an offset, a negative offset. Bless you. -1. -1. By doing that, essentially now this is 1 foot off of top of wall below it. I am seeing everything at that level where I've just drawn that line. Okay, so now I can see the basic architecture, I can see the interior walls, but I don't see any doors or windows or plumbing fixtures. Okay, this is a kind of an important topic with your roof plan, especially because you'll go into your roof plan and you'll have created a roof and then you won't see it, right? Which is counterintuitive, right? But it will happen. So you'll have to get used to view ranges and setting them and making sure you know what it means. Yep.
So I can pull it up and everything, but I don't have like the bottom that I can change.
You don't have, hold on, view range. You don't have this right here is grayed out maybe?
No, it's the bottom one. The one that says bottom.
Let's look at yours real quick. Oh, we're doing the ceiling plan?
Yeah, but I don't know. There you go.
Your elevation. It's probably because they're cropped out. If you choose not to crop, that's another. It gets confusing, I'll tell you. Yeah, anyway, view ranges can be kind of frustrating in Revit, but you'll get the hang of it. Okay. All right. So we have established our roof plans, right? Or our roof level. We've established on our roof floor plan, right? You can see right here, I'm on the roof floor plan, that I can now see the floor plan by changing the view range. And I'm just going to say this because I want anybody who listens to this recording to remember this. But we did have a problem where the view range, the bottom was grayed out, and it was because they were on a ceiling plan and not a floor plan, right? It's really, really common mistake, okay? So make sure you're on a floor plan. All right, yep.
So, for some reason, I'm only seeing lines. I'm not seeing anything else.
Inside?
Yeah. Is that normal?
Your roof plan? It depends on, so let's look at your upper level floor plan.
Upper level.
Level 2. So that's the main level. Let's look at your
Upper level.
yep, upper level.
Which one's that?
Level 2.
Okay. Oh.
You don't have any walls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yep.
I'm confused.
Okay.
Mine has an error. It says that the view that plane is set above the bottom clip.
Okay, so if you get that error, the view range is set below the bottom clip plane or whatever, it's because this and this have to be the same. So if you've given this a -1, that has to be -1. They have to be the same. Okay. Here is, oh, that's not what I wanted, sorry. Here's this little show. This shows you, this graphic I feel like is so helpful. Okay. They didn't used to do this, but it's just so helpful because this is kind of a confusing topic, but it says number 1, primary range, right? So number 1. Number 2, primary range cut plane. Okay. There's the cut plane, right? So we see the cut plane, primary range, top, cut plane, bottom. So you can visually see what each of these settings do, right? Okay. So let's talk about adding a roof, right? Adding a roof is not difficult. The hardest part is, and we're going to talk about adding roofs today. I'm not going to get into cutting roofs yet. We will do that another day because it's kind of another whole topic. So we'll talk about creating roofs today, and then we'll talk about joining and cutting and modifying roofs another day, okay? So let's talk about roof creation, all right? I'm gonna go into a floor plan view here, or sorry, not a floor plan, my roof plan view. This is my roof plan view, okay, to create my roof, all right? Number 1, we have a roof type. You've got roof types, you have ceiling types, you have floor types, you have wall types. They are all generated the same way, right? So if I have a roof type and I want to alter it, I would duplicate it, rename it, and redefine it, right? So I'm going to say that. To create a roof, you have to go into sketch mode. Okay, so we'll go into sketch mode. It was important for me to show you how to get this geometry on your screen because you're going to use it as a template to help you draw your roof. So, that's kind of why we went over the whole view range and, being able to show items on your screen. So we have roof types. We're going to go into sketch mode. You're going to use your existing building geometry to help you create your roof. Okay. You may have to create more than one roof. Let me say that, which we'll talk about when we have to join and cut roofs, right? So we'll talk about that. And then, let's see, final thing, you're going to have to define slopes for your roof, right? So, as beginning design students, you may not quite know what a roof slope means, or you may not know why one is different from another, which one is shallow or steep yet. You will soon. But you will have to define a slope for your roofs, okay? Let's just talk about creating a really simple roof here, all right? And by simple meaning, I'm just gonna create a roof that follows the outline of my project, okay? If I go to architecture, I have a roof tool and I'm gonna choose roof by footprint. Okay, when I choose roof by footprint, I'm bumped into my sketch mode, of course. I have all of my sketch tools that I have for every other sketch application, floors and ceilings and different things like that. So we're ready to sketch. A roof. Oh.
I clicked on something that doesn't, my footprint, where did you get that?
So if you go to architecture and you go to roof right here by footprint.
Everything's gray.
You're in sketch mode. If you're in sketch mode and you go to the architecture tab and you're like, what's happening? I don't know where to go, right? This tab is highlighted, so you can click on it and you see you're back here in drawing mode. You got it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we've got our roof tool initiated, right? And I've got a roof type shown right here. This is where I was saying you have roof types, right? Just like you have floor types and ceiling types and wall types, okay? So if you want to choose a specific roof type, you would use your drop down, choose the one you want, right? And use that roof. If you wanted to edit that roof and create a roof assembly, you would hit edit type, duplicate, we'll say generic, maybe 12 inches, enter, and then you would go to structure and you would edit the structure, right? So in a roof, your roof joists, or the thickness of your truss will be your structure, and then you'll have plywood and underlayment and shingles and whatever elements that you have above that, okay? Below that, right, you would think this is the same conversation we have about floors. Below the roof, you could say, hey, I want to attach some gypsum board to the structure. Well, if you do that, it doesn't act like a ceiling and then lights won't host to it, right? We had that conversation last time. So when you're creating your roof, I wouldn't suggest adding gypsum board to the bottom of your roof, hoping that it will act like a ceiling, right? You're gonna have to add your ceilings in, okay? So we're gonna make this 1 foot, okay, okay, and we have our roof type created, okay? Now we're just gonna use our drawing geometry to create a roof, and we're gonna make our roof so that there's no overhang, right? We're just gonna draw right at the edge of our walls. So I'm gonna use my draw line, click, click, right? We're just gonna go all the way around the boundary here. And close it up. Okay, looks pretty good, right? Now, something that's a little bit different with a roof than with something like a floor or a ceiling is that we have to have some, generally, even if it's a kind of a quote flat roof, you have to have a little bit of slope associated with it, right? So these little triangles here for all the beginning design students, this is a slope. This indicates slope on a roof, okay? And let me just draw, we'll just do it with our sketch tool, okay? So it somewhat looks like this, right? So the slope is the amount of run, and this is the rise. So if you say something like a 412, it's rising 4 inches for every 12 inches of run, right? So over 12, up 4. So that gives you an indication that if you have over 12, up 12, it's going to be very steep. The hypotenuse right here is going to be the steepness, right? If you have over 12, up 1, it's going to be very shallow, okay? So this triangle indicates slope. We have the run and we have the rise, okay? And for our purposes, right, we're going to indicate that in inches, right? It's going to be like 9 inches over 12 inches, okay? I'm going to click on this, this edge of our roof. When I click on that edge of the roof, my little slope triangle turns blue and I see what slope is indicated. And a 912 slope is the Revit out of the box slope for whatever reason, right? If I want to change that to like a 312, I click on it and I'm going to change this to a 3. Enter. Okay. And a couple of other things I want you to notice, right?
Clicked on it, I'm not getting anything.
You clicked on this line.
Oh, I clicked on it.
Wheels on over to help out. So then I click here and I can type 3. I could even just type 3. Enter. Now, after I click on the line, I see my slope here and I can edit it. And I also see my slope over here. Okay, so I could change it over here to like 212. Enter. And 212 again means for every 12 inches of run, I have 2 inches of rise. Okay, I have also having to do with slope, I have a defines roof slope checkbox here, all right? So if I were to click on this and then uncheck defines roof slope, when I click on that line, there's no slope indicated because I've essentially said this will not slope. It'll just be a straight plane, or it will have, if you indicate that around all 4 edges, it will be a flat plane horizontal. It'll be a flat roof, right? If I don't have any slope on one, but I have this one slopes up and this one slopes up, I have a gable, right? Does everybody know what a gable is? No? Okay. Gable. So on a roof, right, if I have a roof, this is a floor plan, and here's the ridge. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. Here's the ridge. Okay, so if I look at it like this, right, maybe it looks like that. Right, so this line is that point right there. That's the ridge line, okay? So this right here is the sloping part, those sloping planes. And this piece right here, we'll just kind of indicate it like that, that triangle, that is the gable. Okay? What's that? No. So here's the ridge line, this and this. If we give that a 0 slope, that will indicate a gable. So it'll just be flat. Does that make sense? Right? So we would give this line a slope. It would slope up to there. It would slope up to there, right? It's sloping up to there. It's sloping up to there, right? And then this 0 slope, it's flat on the end. So we get that gable, okay?
Versus having just a roof that's like just like that. Now we have a pointy one like this.
Well, yeah, so if we indicate slope on both sides, it slopes, it essentially goes like this, whoop, slopes on both sides to a point, right? 0 slope on the end means a gable, right? If I do a roof like, this, and I have a slope here, slope, slope, and slope, all of these are gonna slope up to a point at the top. It's gonna be kind of like a hipped roof, right? So if I looked at it from here, you would get, well, it kind of looks like a gable, but it slopes back, right? So it looks like a pyramid essentially, right? Kind of a hip roof. Okay, so slope, 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 you get kind of that pyramid. If you slope the sides but not the ends, you get a gable end.
Okay.
Okay, and if we do no slope, right? If we do 0 slope all the way around, okay, we are going to get a flat roof, and it's going to look like that, right? And then that's more of a commercial application where you have a parapet, maybe, and the roof has 0 slope. Well, no slope, 0 slope. Okay, so no slope all the way around, you get a flat roof. If you do slope up one side, slope up the other side, but 0 slope on the end, you get a gable. Slope all the way around, and you get a hip roof. Okay, all right. So let's look at this, right? So to undefined slope, I click on a line, and I click to this defines roof slope, I uncheck it. If I want to redefine slope, I click it, and my slope comes back, 212. Okay, so let's illustrate a couple of these things. I'll do a hip roof, I'll do a gable end, and we'll do a flat roof. Okay, so I want to define the slope of all of these, all at the same time. I want them all to have the same slope. Okay, I'm going to hover, tab, click. Okay, now you'll notice that I don't really have the option to edit these here, but I can come over here and type in whatever slope I want them to be all at the same time. 3, enter. So all of these now have a 312 slope. Okay, so I've outlined the shape of the roof. I have defined a roof type. I've given all of these a slope. When I'm done doing that, I hit finish. Okay, let me go and do a 3D mode. Okay, here's my roof, but it's weird. It's not quite sitting where it needs to be, right? It's very low slope. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't. We can change it if we need to, right? But a roof was generated. What's really great about Revit is the roof plans, right? In AutoCAD, it's just not this easy to know, right? Yeah, you know. So roof plans in AutoCAD can actually be really hard to draw, right? Because you have to know what's happening. They can be quite complicated. So this tool is just fantastic, right? Now again, we're not going to get into kind of the, today, maybe on Wednesday we'll get into it, but we're not going to get into how to cut a hole in the roof yet, how to, you know, join roofs and things like that just yet, but we will. But roofs in Revit, great, super slick, work really well, okay? So I just created this, this kind of hipped roof, I guess. And let's look at this in an elevation view. Okay, so I'm going to go to north. There's my roof. You know, and again, what's great is that this is automatically generated in my elevation. It's fantastic, right? North, east. Ooh, it's cut off. My crop boundary is cutting it off. Okay, south, west. All right. I'm going to click on my roof, and when I generated my roof, I was on my roof plan, right? So it created the roof with I guess a base constraint or a base level of the roof plan. But that's obviously not working. We want our roof to be at top of wall. So I click on it, I highlight it. I have a base level here of top of wall.
I can see the roof in the elevation, but not in the 3D.
In 3D you can't? Did you have a section box?
I do.
It's your section box is cutting it off. I'll come over in 1 second. What happened? I chose it. I need to rename these. Hold on. Wow, I put it on that one instead of the one I should have. I know, panic, right? All right. Top of wall. Yep.
Can you give us a picture of what you want us to have done so we can just do what you want to have done?
Yeah, like an AutoCAD render.
The book?
Something like that.
It's in the works, but it's not. We don't have it yet. No.
Because like I look at yours and yours is totally different than mine.
What do you mean yours is totally different?
Where your cutaways are and you got a hole in your roof.
right? An elevator shaft, right? Well, but this is, we're just kind of working through this in class though, so it may look different than your assignments anyway, because I'm just kind of working around, right? Not taking care. So, I know the AutoCAD book is really helpful, right? Maybe I've told a few of this. I'm trying to write a book, but it's kind of like under review by our legal team right now as to whether or not it's legal with AutoCAD, you know, anyway. So it's in the works. Sorry guys, you're a semester too early. Let me come up. Did you get yours figured out, Leela?
No.
Did you actually create a roof?
Leela's got a disappearing roof. Okay. So we have our roof here, right? So here are a couple things if you're having some visualness happening, like things are disappearing, right? If things are disappearing or you don't see something in a view, like I go to my elevation and I don't see my roof for whatever reason, right? My first initial troubleshooting is I go down here to this light bulb and I just make sure that it is actually turned on. Okay, well it is. If that doesn't work, I go to my visual graphics, VG, visual graphics, okay? And I go down to my roof and I just make sure my roof is turned on. It is. My third thing to check would be my crop region too, right? So I just make sure that my crop region is not, you know, for whatever reason, just very perfectly aligned with my top of wall and cropping it out, and I just don't recognize that, right? So that would be kind of another thing that I sort of check for. Leela's got another problem going on though. Hers is showing up in her elevation views, but it's not showing up in my her 3D view for whatever reason. So she's got another problem happening. Anyway, so this is our roof, right? This is that elevator shaft. Here's another issue, right? There's my elevator shaft. I can edit this if I go back to my roof plan here. Okay, if I click on my roof and I hit edit footprint, I can edit it again, right? If I wanted to make it larger, smaller, make a change, I could do that. If I wanted to alter the slope, I could re-alter it here, right? Maybe change it.
The face,
What's that?
because of the face, I think.
What face?
Change it, like from existing to.
Oh, it was turned off through the phase. Oh, sneaky. Well, there you go. Good. Let's make this 612. So we're doubling the slope. So I change the slope, I hit finish. Let me go into 3D. There we go, right? So there's my roof with a different slope, all right? Now, one thing, let's look at, you know, when I'm in my roof plan, click, click, part of my roof is cut off, okay? And I'm thinking, well, I know the roof is there. Obviously, I can see it. Let's go to one of my elevations. Click, click. Okay, it's being cut off because it's taller than my roof level, right? So I can make my roof level 30 feet. Okay, and then go back to my roof floor plan. And okay, I'm still having some issues with visibility, so let's look at my view range. Roofs and view ranges. You'll get really used to view range. So even though my level is technically taller than this roof, so I should be able to view it looking down, right? The top of my view range is only up to the top of wall. So I actually needed to be, the roof level needs to be my top, right? So I need to be looking from the top of here, the top needs to be my roof, and I need to look all the way down to top of wall. So I hit apply. Oop, nothing happened. Let's see, level above top, top of wall. Oh, here we go. Nothing happened. Welcome to view range. Hold on, let's get it working. Cut plane. The bottom will be top of wall. -1. -1. Okay. I need to look at my elevation a little bit better. Let's see. So roof, top of wall. So there's two ways we can go about it. So if it doesn't work one way, we'll go the other. I can look at this and say my view range needs to be at my roof, looking down, of course, or I could say top of wall looking up. Okay, so let's look at my floor plan again here. I'm going to look at my view range. So the bottom is top of wall, -1, and the top, well, let's say maybe we make it top of wall with an offset of 20 feet. Ooh, nothing is working here. What is going on? See, it doesn't always work out.
Your cut plane said 24 feet.
Oh, there we go. Well, let's change that. Let's change it to 20 feet. Maybe that's it. Oh, there we go. Okay, you got it. So we are looking at our top of wall. Okay, so what happened there was we're looking at our top of wall. We're looking 20 feet above our top of wall. So essentially our view range, the top of it up here will be 20 feet above top of wall, and the body of our range will go all the way down to -1 of top of wall. So we have like a 21-foot span where we can be viewing. And the problem here was that that cut plane, right, was at 4 feet, and so we were getting at that 4-foot floor plan cut, okay? Now, let me just say this with view range, right? You saw me kind of struggle with it a little bit. Whatever works, do it, okay? It doesn't matter if you are, let me go back to an elevation here. It doesn't matter if you define your view range from top of wall up or from the roof plane down, or even from level 2 with an offset of 10 feet up to the roof, right? Whatever is going to allow you to view your model the way you need it to be viewed, just set it to that. This is not going to affect anything else but that view because it's view specific, right? It's not going to assign parameters to that view that make it difficult somewhere else. So whatever is going to work with your view, just use it, okay? I'm going to delete this elevator shaft right there. Okay, so here's our roof. Looks pretty good, right? I'm in my roof floor plan. We got it to view. I can click on it and I can hit edit footprint and I can change it if I want. Okay. Now, while this is in my sketching mode, I want to show you how you can create an overhang. All right, and I'm going to do that by selecting all of this and deleting it. I know, crazy, right? Let's create a roof with an overhang. I'm going to click on my line tool. Now, instead of just drawing all the way around this, I'm going to create the overhang that you would see on a building, right? I'm going to change the offset here from 0 to 2 foot. Enter. Okay. Now, when I do that, anything that I draw is 2 feet off of the line that I draw. You see that? Click. I move over here. Click. Click. And it just very nicely joins everything together.
How do you 3 feet?
You could do 3 feet. Yep. Huh?
How do you see everything?
I'm just drawing. Do you see that outer line? You can't. I'm just. I know it's there, so it's very faint, right? You could zoom in, but so you could do 3 feet if you want. You can move these. You can copy them. The main kind of important thing with a roof is that you have a connected region again, like a floor or a ceiling, right? You need a connected region. So if you accidentally draw a line over this line, right, it'll say, hey, you can't do that. And you go to hit finish and it says, hey, you have a problem. You have overlapping lines, right? You have to delete that one. Or if you have a line that doesn't come and quite meet, right, and I hit finish, it'll say, hey, you can't do that, okay? So you'll have to grab that and trim it or just drag that and close it up, right? But essentially this is going to function the same way that, you know, a floor or a ceiling would function, where you just need a closed region, okay? And, oh, here's a really good thing. So I didn't mean to do that, but I did. I've created 2 pieces of roof line within one long segment, right? And I get 2 different slopes because there's one line here and one line there. It's bad drafting, right? I'm going to click on that and delete it. TR, trim, click, click. So that I just have one nice long piece of line, all right?
So if you hadn't have done that and you had 2 like, pieces of line, what would it have done?
Well, if they would have had the same slope, nothing. But if they'd have different slopes, it would split the roof a little.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so now I can, you know, hover, tab, click, define the slope over here to be, you know, let's do 412, enter, hit finish, and I go into 3D. Always I go in 3D and I look at it. I have some weirdness happening here. Oh, this just reminds me. We'll, like I said, we're gonna have another roof discussion, but let me pull those down. Okay, so there's our roof. Looks great. Let's do a gable end though. All right, so I'm gonna close out of this, go back to here, and I'm gonna click on my roof and I'm gonna hit Edit Footprint. And instead of having them all slope up and create that pyramid, I'm gonna change this one line to have a 0 slope. And I'm not just gonna type 0, 12. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to select the line, and then I'm going to come over here to defines roof slope and uncheck that. All right, so I click on it, I don't get a little slope indicator, and I define roof slope is unchecked, okay? All right, so when I do that and I don't do anything else and I hit finish, go into 3D, there's my gable end. My roof looks entirely different on that side, right? So there's no slope there. It essentially would be just like a wall, you know, going straight up. Okay, now the problem here is that my wall doesn't go up and it doesn't meet that roof, right? It looks kind of odd, right? We'll talk about that. I have this wall and it's defined from the main level all the way up to the top of wall. Okay, that makes sense. But now I need it to kind of maintain those connections from the base to the top constraint, but I want it to somehow extend up and connect to my roof, right? You even notice that these walls that they come up to top of wall, which is technically where my roof is sitting. They don't really even connect. Do you see how they're not touching that roof? Depending on how it's sloped. Let's go to a section cut and look at that. I'm going to go to floor plan. Click, click. Let's go to this section cut. Click, click. And do you see how these walls don't come up and hit that roof? Well, your initial, you see this little marker right here, and you think, well, if I click on that and I drag it up, oh, now they touch, right? You have kind of that weirdness happening, which we don't want, so I'm going to undo that. Right, let me go back to my 3D. I'm going to click on this wall, and there's a really easy way to connect the roof and the wall. I select the wall, I choose Attach Top, and I click on the roof, and it extends that wall up nicely. I can do it here. Click, Attach Top, click on the roof. So essentially you're saying, I have this object selected, I want to take it and extend it up and attach it to an object. And so I'm going to undo these. Click, Attach Top, click, and now it says down here, select the roof, floor, ceiling, or parallel wall to which the selected wall should attach. Click. There it is. Right? I could also tab. So, right, I hover, tab, click. I grab all the walls and I choose Attach Top, click, and it attaches all those walls at the same time. Yep.
When you're clicking hover, tab, click, are you clicking on the object again or off the site?
The object. Yep, that's a good question. Let me undo, because this is always a tricky thing, right? I hover, I'm highlighting it blue, but I'm not clicking, but I'm on the object. I tab, whatever is touching that object in the chain, it selects, and I click. I don't move my mouse. Click. If I hover and I tab, and then I move my mouse, it essentially breaks that connection. Yep, hover, tab, click, attach, click, and all those walls go up to the top. How easy is that?
I got a wall that keeps going up to my roof, but it won't go to the top of the wall. It's saying it's the top of the wall.
Do you have a top offset? Let's take a look. So this will apply to walls whether you're trying to, what was the name of the tool used? That's connected to your roof. Yes, you can detach it if you want also. Detach, another roof. Yeah. Okay, so you detached it, now you want to attach it, is that what you're doing?
Well, I just wanted to go down to the top of the level. That's what I thought it was complete.
Well, so what you did though, so it is. So the top constraint is top of wall, which is where it's at. Yeah. Oh, it's an interior wall. That's what you were.
Yeah. Why did I look at that?
Because you accidentally picked that instead of an exterior wall, and you attached
I
it.
did not click that. That's not true.
I like that answer. It wasn't me, Mom. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. All right. So if you accidentally attach something, like you attach it to the roof, and maybe you choose an interior wall, and you think, oh, I want to undo that, right? I can click on the wall. I can choose Detach, click. What do you want to detach it from? Well, the roof, click, and it detaches that object, right?
But okay, so the roof, to have that offset, you don't use base offset, you gotta use some other type of offset?
To create these overhangs, or?
Overhang?
Well, so when you're drawing the overhangs, right? Let me hit edit here. Okay. So the overhangs are not a base offset. They're not connected with a level, right? It's a drawing method. So I'm going to click on the line tool, and the offset is right here. So I could do something like 5 foot, enter, right? And so now when I click, it's going to offset it, and it's to the exterior, but if it had accidentally been inside, I could use the space bar. Click, 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 right? So now I'm doing a 5 foot. It's getting a little messy, right? But you get the idea. Now I'm doing a 5 foot offset. Oh, I redid it. Now I need to input the 5 foot. 5, enter. Oop, wrong side, space bar. Click. It's a little messy. TR, trim. Click, 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 click. Okay. And now I can go around and I can individually pick the line and type in something like 712, enter. Click. 7, enter. Click. 7, enter. Did I get that one? No, 7, enter, right? So I could individually go around and change all of the slopes, or I could hover, tab, click, okay, and come over here and change this to 7, enter, 712, apply, finish. I go into my 3D mode, there's my roof. Okay, there we go. So I click on the roof, I hit edit footprint, I could change this, and I'm gonna hold control. So I'm picking one line, control, pick another line, so I have 1, 2 lines selected. I can change those to no slope. I want to undefine the roof slope, which means there'll be a gable. So there will be a gable here and a gable there. Finish, 3D. Here's our weird roof, right? Ooh, that's a really weird roof. Looks good. All right, so I have my roof, right? I'm able to define the slope very precisely in my sketch mode. I can also click on my roof, and you'll notice if all of the slopes are consistently 712, aside from these gables, when the roof is selected here, I could change this to 4, enter. And it brings the roof slope down. Now, what's nice about taking these walls and forming an attachment between the wall and the roof using the attach tool is that when I change the slope of the roof, the walls automatically follow it. Okay, so that's good. Now, another thing that you may have noticed, I'm going to go into an elevation view, north, is that when I click on my roof and I select it, I get these little grips, right? And these are really helpful because they will allow me to input slope kind of in an informal, maybe like on the fly manner, right? So instead of typing 412, if I have to match the height of something, right, which is pretty common when you have an existing building and you're adding something on, right, and you get permission from the city to match the existing roof line in height and in slope. And so, you know, aside from going up on the roof and measuring the slope or whatever, some other method of measuring the slope, you can use these little guys to pull. I clicked and I held the mouse and I moved my mouse up, and it will allow me, I guess within reason until it can't do it, to drag those roof lines up. So now when my roof is selected, let's see, my slope. Ooh, it's not giving me my slope. I'm going to go to my roof plan. Click. Ooh, that's really weird. Click, edit footprint. Let's see what some of these slopes are. That one's a 0. Like 129 over, right? So it's not calculating a definite kind of increment, right? It's just calculating whatever it ends up being when you pull on these roof lines, right? Okay. So I can go in and I can alter the roof line other than in a sketch, okay? Okay, let's do a flat roof. I'm gonna go back to my roof plan, click, click, click. I'm gonna hit edit footprint, hover, tab, click. Okay, and I'm gonna undefine all the slopes on these, but, oh, no, it's not gonna allow me to do that. Looks like I have to go through and maybe do it one at a time. Undefine, pick this little guy, undefine, I pick this little guy, undefine, and I hit finish. Let's go to 3D. There's how all the architects like it, right? Nice flat roof. All right. Now if I wanted to create a single slope roof, let's click on it, hit edit. Let's make this, we'll define one line to slope. We'll make it a 412, that looks good. Hit finish. Let's go to 3D. And I get a single slope roof. Okay. All right, so there, you know, we can do a lot of different roof types using the Revit roof tool. Now, I'm not going to go much further than that today. I feel like that's kind of a lot of information to digest. But I do want to show you one thing, right? We have our roof. Our roof is a view, okay? So I know that I could come down to my sheets, right click, new sheet, right? 22 by 34, okay. I could drag my roof onto my sheet, click, there's my roof, right? You'd clean it up, of course. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is that I can create more than one roof in a view, right? So there will be times where maybe you have kind of the main body of the roof, right? It's just a two slope. You have, you know, the two sides slope up. They form a main peak, right? But then maybe you have a dormer coming off one side that's a gable end, right? So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to click on this, hit edit footprint. I'm going to get rid of this little bump out. I know it's not totally right, but I'm going to trim these two up so I have kind of a square roof, okay? And then I'm going to undefine the slope here. And I want to define the slope on this side and on this side. And you're probably thinking, how am I going to remember which side to define and which side not to define? And you kind of get the hang of it. Let me just say that. You'll get the hang of it. So we will define those two slopes. So essentially what this means is that this one slopes from here up, and this one slopes from here up, and wherever they meet is where the peak is. Okay? This one is not defined with slope. We'll leave it that way, which means it will be a gable. This one is not defined with a slope, so that means that's a gable as well. So if I define this one, that one has a 512. That one has a, ooh, we'll do a 512 there as well. When I hit finish, right, kind of what a normal roof looks like. We'll call it a normal roof, right? Like that. Okay. And now we're going to go back to my roof plan here. WT. Okay.
I keep trying to offset the one side so it's got more of an overhang over the porch, but it won't go. It just keeps giving me 3 feet.
Okay, so if that happens, I'm going to hit edit footprint. If that happens, right, I can grab this and I can MV move, click, click, and move it. Maybe I want it, ooh, I didn't quite move it where I wanted it. If I move it to there, I can move it to the wall, and then MV, click, I could type 6 foot, enter, and it moves it out 6 feet. So instead of maybe trying to use the offset when you draw, if it's not working for you, which again, you'll get used to this, but you can move these back and forth to get what you want. And if I'm unsure as to how far it actually is, I can create a little dimension in here. So I could click on annotate. There's my dimension, and I could even pull a little dimension from there to there. Did that work for you? That doesn't work, let me know. We'll try.
My roof is not like quite close when I go to floor plan.
Uh-huh.
There is like a hole.
It's probably a view range. It's probably cut. It's your view range. Yeah, it's your view range.
Oh, okay.
So if you go to your view range, you'll have to define it. Yeah. Okay. And it may take some playing around. I associate view range with LT scale in AutoCAD, right? It doesn't really affect your view very much, but do whatever you need to do to get it working. And it's a pain in the neck. Add that little gem, right? All right, so I hit finish and I have a 6 foot overhang. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I have this roof. What if I want to have a dormer that comes in on this side, right? I would essentially have to create a secondary roof that then kind of butts into the first roof, right? We'll join them together. We'll make them work really nicely, which we're not going to do today, but let me show you how to create a secondary like gable. Okay, so maybe this is a dormer. This little area pops out and there's a dormer. All right. So architecture, roof by footprint. And I could come in here and I could draw a gable maybe that goes like that. A gable is flat on the front here, right? Flat on the back side, but this and this have a slope. These two edges have a slope. So this would be, and this would be a 0. slope. Let me tell you, it took me a few times figuring this out, right? Again, you'll start to figure out how the roof slopes work. And it may take a few times, but the roof tool is so easy to use that it's not that difficult to troubleshoot it. So this edge with the slope is going to slope up, and this edge is going to slope up, and they'll meet in the middle. Let's do, instead of 912, let's do 512. Okay, I'm going to hit finish. You see my little gable right there. Oh, it's kind of low slope. I'm going to make it maybe, while I have it highlighted, I can come over here to slope and change it to 912, enter. That's looking more like it should, right? Although we have, you know, this piece that comes out, this piece should remain. We've got this piece of the other roof right here, right? There's some other things that we have to do to aesthetically make this look correct. Okay, so it will involve creating a hole in this roof so that this little roof can kind of butt into it, and you won't see this, and you won't see this piece right here. And then we'll join them together. Does that work for you yet, Corey?
No.
No? Let me come look around. Sorry, what were you trying to do? Oh, it's more okay.
But now I'm trying to figure out why it's all raised up.
It's because it's on the wrong level. So if you go to like your east elevation, it's probably at your roof line and needs to be at top of the wall. So click on it and change it from roof to top of the wall. And then to change your overhang, you're going to hit edit footprint. You can't edit footprint in this view. And then so now you see this kind of odd spot.
It does look like it is.
That looks about 6 feet. You can just go to the annotate and just measure it. Click on the wall. So now that it's out, it's like fraction of the other. Yeah. And then you hit finish and it will.
Yeah.
So should be. I should have said should be, right?
Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right. We'll end up, I think we're gonna obviously end up talking about roofs on Wednesday a little bit more. So we'll talk about how to cut holes in a roof, how to join roofs, how to clean them up, and then I'll review again quickly how we sort of create a roof again, right? Which will be helpful. Aside from the annotation coordination in Revit, I think this roof tool is probably one of the strongest tools. Because roofs are surprisingly difficult to figure out when you're drawing in CAD. Anyway, so you guys will appreciate this. All right, let me just make sure I didn't forget anything here real quick before we go on.
Is there like a following class to this class, like a Command Revit intermediate one?
Can you post
Not-
our assignment?
What's that? Hold on a sec. Somewhat. So we do have Arch 2510, which Anna's in, where we do move past the basic commands and talk about how to do construction documents. But there's not like a Revit number 2 where you just learn more skills.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay.
Which I think we do need. But it's a process. The assignment is not posted. I'm not going to post another assignment until Wednesday. So get all of your other stuff finished up. Because we have...
Right?
What's that?
Most of that will be done by Wednesday.
You'll have to, I'm just gonna be honest, I don't remember through all my classes which ones are due which day. So whatever Canvas says is right.
The floors and the roof are due the 11th.
Okay.
What's
So,
the end roof?
is it roof too?
It says floor, the
says floors and roof.
Okay, don't worry about the roof part, and I'll because we're gonna add some stuff. You know, we have some more skills to learn for the roof, so just get the floors in. That'll be okay. Yep, I'll split the assignment. But no more. I'm not gonna post a new assignment because I want us to talk a little bit more about the roof system here. All right. Be free, right? Be free to work. Hold on. Let me stop recording and I will come right over.